At one point or another, we've all been in a position of despair and hopelessness, whether it be from a breakup, an occupational termination, addiction in its many forms, illness, loss, or anything that causes us emotional pain, which there is no shortage of. The world we share is an unpredictable one, filled with complexity and confusion. Tragedy can strike at any time. One moment, everything is perfect with the sun shining and birds singing. The next, the world goes cold. Every day is overcast and everyone around you seems distant and cold and cruel. At these points in our lives, it can seem impossible to overcome our emotional pain. We feel stuck in a deep hole with no rope or ladder and no one can hear us yell for help. Unfortunately, this is not far from the truth. With constant sources of dopamine in our society, today most people will avoid those who are quote-unquote down in the dumps, lest they feel dragged down below their current level. And who can blame them? Nobody really enjoys being depressed, and no one would definitely volunteer themselves for it. Now, that's not to say that friends and family will not lend a hand, but you, and only you, can help yourself with your true emotional state. This is where perspective can truly help. The Stoic philosopher and ruler of Rome, Marcus Aurelius, wrote, quote, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is perspective, not the truth." End quote. Our perspective alone can change not only how we see the world, but how we react to it. If all you see is your own pain and suffering, then you will always see yourself a victim. It's a good meditation to tell yourself in times of hardship that things could always be worse, no matter how bad you believe your current state to be. For example, I had a recent separation from a person I was with for over a decade. The separation surprised me and greatly affected my emotional state both physically and mentally, as breakups tend to do. I carried myself as a broken, hopeless man for months, asking myself why the universe would stab me in the back like this, and why can't I pull myself out of it? Not long after, I met a man at my job. The man was at the hospital I work at for an operation. My task was to retrieve his phone charger from his car and bring it to him so he could call his daughter. When I reached his room, he had confessed to me his reason for being at the hospital. This man had an infection growing rapidly in his one remaining leg, which was to be amputated shortly. His wife had left him and his daughter not long after losing his first leg, which caused him to lose his job and rely on Social Security. After hearing this man's story and witnessing his hardships firsthand, my problems seemed almost invisible. The perspective of this man's situation was a blatant reminder to me that things could always be worse. After some much-needed self-reflection, I turned to a philosophy known as Stoicism. In this belief, I learned something that also helped my perspective on my situation. Though I missed my ex very much and was constantly reminded by my own mind of the wonderful memories and moments we shared, Stoicism taught me that nothing in this life truly belongs to you except your thoughts and actions. That my ex and I did not belong to each other, but were simply borrowing each other's company and affection until it ran its course. When you accept the fact that no person or thing truly belongs to you, then you won't be hurt when it is gone. To quote Marcus Aurelius once again, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been." End quote. Now, that's not to say to completely ignore the pain life will inevitably serve you, for without pain, there could be no growth. If you are unable to see perspective by the misfortune of others, then remember that simple truth. All the pain you are feeling now will transform you into someone stronger and more emotionally powerful than you ever were before. The tunnel you are in might be dark and cold and lifeless, but the light and warmth await you on the other side, accompanied by a bright outlook on life. I will end this video with one more quote by Marcus Aurelius. Quote, "Don't panic before the picture of your entire life. Don't dwell on all the troubles you faced or have yet to face, but instead ask yourself, as each trouble comes, what is so unbearable and unmanageable in this? Your reply will embarrass you. Then remind yourself that it's not the future or the past that bears down on you, but only the present. Always the present, which becomes an even smaller thing when isolated in this way and when the mind that cannot bear up under so slender an object is chastened." End quote. Thank you for listening.